Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I am your host, Kevin Wallace, and my goodness, do we have an episode for you. We are talking about that Blood Feud victory for FC Cincinnati over the New York Red Bulls, a victory that, not gonna lie, took a lot out of us emotionally, teammates-wise, but you know, we carry on, we fight forward, relive this game with us. This was a heck of a victory. I think you're going to enjoy this one. This is your postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, certainly there will be more here. I'm joined by three gentlemen ready to dive into the DC and Marvel cinematic universes. I'm joined by the Chief, I'm joined by Grayson, and we are rejoined by Jonah. Jonah, welcome back to the pod.
It's DC Day on the pod. I'm ready to get into Justice League and all of the ramifications of the stuff that happens.
If a Justice League existed in real life, politically, what percentage of the country would be opposed to them? Would they be politicized 50-50? Or would it be sort of a weird wacko position to be anti-Justice League? Or would it become the majority opinion?
So we like to make movies pretending like that there's like a divide in the country with these heroes that mirrors our political divide.
Right.
It would mirror our politics, but it would be more like the public opinion toward like American Empire, which is entirely in favor. Just sometimes one side looks back 20 years ago and says, man, we messed that up. We learned some lessons. And then they just, keep moving forward.
You don't think that there would be like the same people that are behind like the Innocence Project and criminal justice reform. I feel like they'd have a real problem with the Batman in particular.
Yeah. Oh
yeah, that's the most influential people in American politics right there.
Follow the money.
It's like these people haven't been convicted of anything and they're just beaten up and hogtied and left hanging somewhere.
The Boys is actually doing a really good job with this right now, where there's like an AOC that the news people call like a socialist, and she's anti-superhero and all that. But it turns out she's actually just like a plant. She's a controlled opposition, which I'm not saying that that's what the Justice Democrats are, but I'm not saying it either.
It's a solid parallel. Jonah, you pro or anti-Superman?
Anti. Too much power.
There we go.
Not real. That's why. You know everything you need to know about Jerry Seinfeld because that's his favorite superhero. I don't even know what that means.
Being anti-Superman also lets you be anti-illegal alien, so that's good.
That's always been my stance. That's what I'm back here. I've got some views to espouse.
All right. I feel like I've tried to drag that out as much as possible there. There's too much meat on this bone to carry on much further. We have a playoff victory, a playoff advancement, a series win. First playoff series win for FC Cincinnati's entire club history. I feel confident in saying that. Yeah. FC Cincinnati advances on penalties after a 1-1 finish in Harrison, New Jersey. A wild game that yeah, it felt incredible. The scenes at Molly Malone's, I know Chief and I can attest to, were pretty incredible. I will say, though, this morning, there's a part of me that feels like, we won the battle, but at what cost? There's a lot that was left on that field. Chief, big takeaway from this victory.
The big takeaway is that FC Cincinnati's 3 wins away from hoisting MLS Cup. And that's really, at the end of the day, all that matters. Like, I know we're going to get in and we're going to nitpick a lot of this, and we're going to talk about, as Pat Brennan, great friend of the show, has said, the Pyrrhic victory of FC Cincinnati last night. But at the end of the day, you win. Survive and advance. They are one step further in the playoffs. All things considered, you'd rather be them than anyone else. You don't have to play a third elimination game. And the existential dread at halftime yesterday of the thought of having to play the Red Bulls back at TQL Stadium in an elimination game where you knew it was just going to be 90 minutes of horrendous soccer, of them doing anything and everything to grind out a result. I didn't want to go through that. And we don't have to now because they won this game. So no price is too heavy to advance in the playoffs. That's my top line takeaway from this game.
All due respect to Pat Brennan, but wouldn't a Pyrrhic victory, unless you assume that Philly and Red Bulls are somehow aligned with each other, wouldn't a Pyrrhic victory be winning game 1 and then while suffering tremendous losses and then losing the next 2 to the Red Bulls?
I mean, I guess it remains to be seen how much was actually lost. Both Baji and Wobodo leave this game injured. Now, nothing about their particular injuries looked devastating, but
we beat Red Bulls. That's a victory.
Yeah. Yes.
I confused it with phallic, so I read the tweet much different the first time.
It really was more of a phallic victory than anything
and I was like, yeah, that makes sense too.
Jonah, what were the scenes like?
Based on the lip reading that I saw after the game, it wouldn't surprise me if someone was encouraging the New York Red Bulls fans to engage in some activities with their phallus.
Maybe that's what was thrown down on the field. The long object.
The famous pink one from years past. I don't remember when that was.
Was there a pink dildo thrown onto the field? We have to know.
We all know there was. I was trying to think, and during penalties, I mean, it was over. We lost. The game was, I feel like twice. It was the most lost. It was the most lost game I had ever watched. So the fact that we're here to talk about next round and the next winning the series is incredible. So no, it sucks everything that happened, but yeah, I've never been more confident. I was sitting in a beanbag chair at the back. Like, I left the couch. I was for parts of it, I'm out of the room. I'm looking through the doorway because that makes it easier on me, in the dark room watching through my fingers. And it was over. It was lost. And then Tolkien stepping up. I'm like, oh, no, it's going to be this guy. And then he hits the post and they still could have won it. I don't know. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. I can't think of a more lost game. So I'm not going to get down on the obvious bad parts that came out of that as well.
Yeah. That was like, there's so much to get into with this one. And I feel like the only way to do this is to go through like moment by moment. We'll try to do this slightly chronologically here, but yeah, like this game just took so much out emotionally and mentally that just surviving the penalties, like just like being alive afterwards, was a victory. And I'm just so thankful that we do not have to do this again this season with this team, this New York Red Bull team, that it's just so physically painful to watch. It sucks. They suck. I hate them so much.
I mean, the other top line takeaway from this game is, if you didn't already think it was a rivalry, if our discussion about the only thing missing is a name didn't convince you, these teams do not like one another. The players specifically on these two teams do not like one another. These two fan bases do not like the opposing teams. It's a rivalry. I'm sorry. Somebody suggested a new name for it, the Skyline rivalry, given the iconic New York skyline and the similarly iconic Cincinnati skyline food product. Either way,
don't hate it.
It's a rivalry. And the formatting of a series like this lends itself to kicking a rivalry off because, of course, you're going to start hating a team that you have to see multiple weeks in a row. You're going to be. We saw in this game 2 games in a row versus a single opponent had the two teams ready to tear each other's throats out. You had that with like Lucho Acosta's quote earlier in the week about how he doesn't like the way they play, how they play anti-soccer, shit being thrown on the field. This is a full-on, full-out rivalry, and I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah, like this is, I mean, a lot of the Nashville stuff is tongue-in-cheek and like silly, but like truly, the passion on display in this matchup is 10 times what is seen versus Nashville. Like this is what a rivalry feels like. And it's really getting to the point where like the Columbus games are usually good. And I properly dread New York Red Bull games. So I just keep an eye on this one. It's coming up. It's coming up quick up the list of teams I do not ever want to play. Let's get into the lineup for FCC real fast. No huge surprises here, but I'll run through it very quickly. Roman Celentano in goal, of course. Ian Murphy, Matt Miazga, Yerson Mosquera across your back line, Alvaro Barrial, and Santi Arias out wide on the right. Junior Moreno, Wobodo, and Acosta in midfield with Dom Baji alongside Brandon Vasquez. I go to you, Jonah. Baji over Bupenza. Agree or disagree before the game? I want your opinion, what you were thinking before the game.
I wasn't mad about it. I was a little worried about his psyche. I don't know. I don't think he's like a precious little baby or anything, but you don't want to upset the guy who you will be counting on from this game on. I love Baji's little shithousery, his physicalness, all of that. Mm-hmm. Is it a little overrated to me? First Bupenza, who can, has the left foot of a god and the right foot of a small child. Maybe. So wasn't mad at it, but if you're like, Jonah, you pick. Everybody's healthy. I'm putting Bupenza in there. He's the money man. And even though we may disagree with, it doesn't always look like his stats. Like this is a guy who's scoring at a pretty impressive rate. So let's go with that. And whatever. Yeah, it all worked out in the end, though, didn't it?
Yeah,
except for Baji. Sorry.
I like the call of having Baji in the game. Like I think we talked about it last week, but his physicality and his just intimidating presence is kind of what this game needed a little bit. And it sucks that he wasn't able to see more of the game out, but he was in a great run of form. I hope he's okay because they're going to need that whoever they play in the next round. But I didn't think that was surprising in the slightest to see him up there. And I mean, I guess it works out in the end because of how the goal scoring happens in this game.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was funny. We had this same debate leading up to this. Do you start Baji? Do you start Bupenza? Do you ride the hot hand? Is Bupenza's punishment over? And yeah, I think even before the injury, the play on the field would suggest that this is Bupenza's job going forward, and that debate I believe is done now. It is funny though, Jonah, you bring up the stats that Bupenza doesn't give you the warm, fuzzy feelings, but yeah, you look at like his goals per minute, his goals in each game, like he's doing great. And I somebody pointed that out to me after the last episode of the postcast as well, which is like, hey, you were kind of like poo-pooing Vasquez, but he scored like 4 goals in the last 5 or 6 games, and like he's ahead of where he was last year in all competitions. So like, you know what? Maybe I'm just reading strikers completely wrong. Maybe they're completely fine. I don't know, or maybe I'm spoiled watching other MLS team strikers and expecting more. But I don't know, Grayson. Is it crazy to think that like, I don't know, we don't have the most confidence going into this group, yet all of the stats would suggest we should?
I think it's fine to be okay with Badji starting this game. Yeah. Given that it was Red Bull. He had started the previous game. He had shown to be effective at, combating some of their tactics. Maybe a little too effective. One could argue, but
combat being the right word, I think, given some of the photos that emerged.
But I don't think that needs to reflect on like how you think about Boupendza going forward. Yeah. Something in the back of my mind also was thinking back to the Miami game and going to penalties and having a number of our shooters off the field going into penalties. And I don't think I'm not saying like that was part of the calculation, but I don't think it's a silly calculation to think, all things being equal, do I want Aaron Boupendza coming into this game and then taking a penalty, or do I want him off the field and it's Dominic Badji? You're on the road. You don't need the game. Mm-hmm. You know that they're going to be playing how they play. I think it can make sense tactically without thinking it's still some part of Boupendza's punishment, or it gives us any pause or worry going forward.
Yeah.
That's interesting too. We'll have an ample amount of time to talk about this, given how long the layoff is going to be between now and the next round. But you do wonder if all 3 strikers are healthy. You do wonder what the rotation is based on form, because before this game, the debate was between Boupendza and Badji as to who should get the nod. I don't know that the conversation shouldn't be around Brandon Vasquez going forward, and whether or not it should be Badji and Boupendza, maybe, that's playing. And I know I've been the one that's been defending Vasquez for a lot of the last couple of weeks about him doing the things off the ball and away from goal that are helping this team. But watching this game last night, Vasquez, I don't think he had a very good game. I think that he was invisible for long stretches. And when he did have his opportunities to do something, he muffed the vast majority of the chances that he had. And I think we looked at one another, Kevin, we were watching the game midway through the first half or at the end of the first half. And I said, I don't know that the move isn't to bring Yuya Kubo in place of Brandon Vasquez and try to get a little more dynamic play going forward. But, this lineup, you look at it, it's as close to a first choice lineup as this team is going to have, is capable of having. But man, did they look slow in that first half. It just looked real plodding. And I know part of that is just the sheer, that's just the way New York wants the game to be. They want the game to be physical. They want the game to be slow. They want chaos and the ball bouncing around. But I don't know. The first half specifically, the strikers were invisible, and you just can't have that in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, as expected, a very choppy, very stop-start game. At one point, New York Red Bulls was averaging, according to a tweet I saw, a foul every 3 minutes, which was pretty impressive through the first half. And they got a total of, one yellow card in the first half. So well done, New York Red Bulls. But everything leading up to this in terms of Baji Bupenza, well, unfortunately, it was settled for us in the 34th minute. Dom Baji did have to sub out for Aaron Bupenza. It looked like a non-contact injury, going up for a header, I want to say, sort of forcing that change onto the game. No coach has something like that scripted or ready. And so, yeah, whatever you were thinking about that decision, it went the other way about a half an hour into this match. For the first few minutes, like the first opening period of this game, yeah, I agree with Chief. It was very slow. But New York Red Bull didn't look good either. I know, Jonah, you were all over this one where, especially through the first half, New York Red Bulls were like not an impressive team. They weren't doing anything. It didn't look like.
No, they're definitely the more hyped up team, as you would hope if you're a Red Bulls fan and your life is on the line. And there's just, they're running around, they're committing fouls, they're winning balls. And we were kind of sleepwalking a little bit through the beginning. Lucho was like not on the ball at all. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. And I was wondering, is it weird that Frankie Amaya's a guaranteed start every game for Red Bulls? Like he's like, is he that good, or are the Red Bulls like actually just like that mid that like, oh, Frankie Amaya makes sense? But yeah, he had first 30 minutes, he had like 3 fouls quickly in a row. I'm like, oh, good, we're gonna get Frankie booked. He's mouthing off about everything. He's such a pissy, looks like he's 15-year-old and petulant.
Has anyone watched him play in games that he's not playing us? Does he look just like a sour individual all the time, or is it only when he's playing Cincinnati? It's a joy. Frankie Amaya is a joyless watch. I don't think I've ever seen the man smile in any of these games. Even when he scored his goal against us, I didn't see him smile at all. He always looks pissed off on the field. I worry about Frankie. Like,
do you think he thinks he made a mistake? I mean, I would say probably not, but it's easy to say that now. But like, I mean, it was probably the right decision at the time to be like, all right, get me out of here. But I mean, I think he would have had a role on this team. Yeah. Like the thing he does had a place. Like would it mean that we'd have Obi? I would hope that was still, he's not good enough to take his spot, but we might have thought we had something else, but he's got to feel a little bit something. He's like, I'm at a huge market, but nobody gives a fuck about New York Red Bulls in New York or anywhere else. So I don't know, but yeah.
Who would he play in place of on this team? Junior Moreno?
It'd be Moreno's spot, yeah.
Well, I'm about done with Junior Moreno. Then he'll make like a great assist. But like the first game, he literally, I'm glad they had this stat. So like he is the best passer on the team. They're like, in the last game though, he was 20% less passing accuracy. I'm like, yeah, he gave the ball away at least 6 times directly to Red Bulls, who I know like press, but these were not like under duress passes. And he had a few early ones, and I'm not like, well, I'm going to put in fucking Angelo now. But like when Kubo comes in, I'm like, all right, I feel a little better now. He's been upsetting me, but I don't know. What are we talking about in the first half?
Yeah. No.
It's sluggish. There wasn't a lot to hold on to. And then we could have easily been ahead, though.
Is the issue with Junior Moreno that he dyed his hair? Because I think last game was the first one with the blonde look. I think.
It was.
I like his blonde better than Barrialis, if I'm being honest. That's my hot take.
I think what the team should do is I think every match going forward, a new person should dye their hair blonde. So the next time we play, like just randomly, we'll say Yerson dyes his hair blonde, and then the match after that, maybe Roman does it. Let's get fucking wild here.
Who's the worst blonde on the team if they dye their hair blonde?
Absolutely Matt Miazga.
Yeah. I was going to say Angulo, but you're right. Miazga.
Angulo would just be a lot of blonde.
If Miazga does it, he absolutely needs to take the field wearing a puka shell necklace too, and just complete the Abercrombie and Fitch douchebag look from like the late 90s, early 2000s.
That's a hold. Sorry.
The most hateable. Yeah, behind the scenes, the Bengals game is going on while we're recording this. So
Classic
you might hear some commentary.
You could see everybody's face on the Zoom looking off to the side where like a TV is.
The Amaya question I think is super interesting, and somebody brought it up. I think it was in the Pride Discord, and I do like the thought experiment of like, if for whatever reason, I have no idea anybody's contract situations, but if Frankie was made available for a team-friendly deal to FC Cincinnati, do you want him back? Would you take him back if he plays against these other teams like he does seem to play against FCC? Are you open to an FCC redemption story, I guess is the question. To whoever wants to answer that, I'm not posing that at anybody, okay?
No, I'll take him back. No.
Hey.
I don't want him, but we'd instantly love him. I don't care. We're all liars if we say we wouldn't, and I don't care for him at all. But like, you know, we still want Matt Miazga on this team. I get that he's possibly defender of the year, so that's a little different. But
he would have to apologize and thank the fans. That would have to be the first thing he would do. He would need to take a full page ad out in the Inquirer, apologizing and thanking the fans, and then
the first thing he would do was get on with Tommy G or somebody, record a little video about, you know, his departure. And, you know, I still rooted for the team from afar. I really thought they'd turn it around. They had those great facilities, and I'm really glad to be back. And, you know, I'm really glad to finally have the fan support that I'd gotten used to and that I've been missing for a couple of years, because we really do have the best fans in the league, and everybody would be all in.
We would just all collectively pretend we didn't tell him to fuck himself for
sports 3 or 4 straight years. We're all marks, you know. We're all very easy. But I mean, the fact he didn't. I'm still shocked he didn't like celebrate at all when he scored in that last regular season game against us.
Right.
And like we have given you all the right in the world to do whatever the fuck you want.
He had every right to celebrate that goal.
Yes.
He should have celebrated that goal.
In fact, the fact that he didn't celebrate that goal makes me not want him even more, because I don't think he has the mental toughness required to truly be a star in this league.
I mean, I think he might be a little bit of a dum-dum, but like he just like kind of has like a glazed look. I'm not saying like Frankie's stupid, but like I think this is all like, I think he's kind of taken aback by like those "fuck you, Frankie" chants. I think like he's probably like, man, what? I don't know if he knows
about this?
Yeah, like the thanking the fans. I don't know if that's something that even registers in his mind, but you know, it's sports, so we're gonna. And people are like, I think we're done with, you know, we've got him now. We don't need to do it anymore. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is going to happen until he retires. He can either retire or come back. We're going to be booing him. And it's just kind of fun. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this, probably less so in the Barley, but where I'm sitting, you get the people, you hear them around. I'm like, why are we booing this guy? Like people who are like, totally. You get the people who don't realize they're like, oh, he was like our first draft pick or something. It's like, come on, like you should know, but not everybody does, which makes it funny.
I really do hope he has like a 15-year career in MLS, just from the idea that there could be people not yet born who will show up to matches and boo Frankie Amaya, having no idea why they're doing it.
Oh man, that gives me so much joy. Just the idea of that.
He'd probably enjoy it at that point. Like, what a journey. We're still going to boot. I mean,
he's on his 8th team.
Miazga's like relentlessly taunting Red Bulls fans at the end. And I didn't even what they like sold him because he wanted to leave. Like there shouldn't even be animosity there.
At a certain point though, I really do think he needs to embrace it. Kind of like Kurt Angle back in the day when the crowd would chant "You suck" as he walked in. And then all of a sudden it just became a thing you did when he walked in. Everyone chanted "You suck" to the man. And he'd clap it up. Even when he was working as a good guy, people still told him he sucked.
Yeah, it's the Primus sucks is the one that always comes to mind with that one. Just fully embrace it there. So yeah, the first 34 minutes. Hey, how about that?
We do have to point out within the first, I think 5 minutes of this game, noted scumbag and dipshit John Tolkien, within the first 3 minutes, tried to draw a penalty that ended up being a pretty big moment early, because getting a PK that early, like, I hate when players immediately go for the dive within the first 90 to 120 seconds of the game. It's like, bro, chill out.
Yeah,
you're not going to get that call right off the bat. And he continues to be a comical level of shithead, and just put a pin in that conversation, because it ends up having a wonderful ending, as it turns out in this game.
Beautiful back. Tears.
So amazingly, Frankie did escape this game without a yellow card. So figure that one out. Red Bull was fouling, classic Red Bull, nonstop, all over the place. Arias has what looks to me in the course of this game a fairly average looking foul, even on the lighter side of things. Instant yellow card. So loved that. I loved the even-handedness of which that this was refereed. And then, of course, we get to right before halftime, a broken defensive play. I think this is off of a Ian Murphy giveaway. Ultimately starts this off. New York Red Bull press works. Yeah, this is Ian Murphy, failed clearance in the box, stolen off of him, passed back into the middle of the box. Chaos ensues. It bounces over Celentano's legs and arms as it sadly dribbles into the back of the goal. Tom Barlow scores, and it's just that awful right before halftime goal where the coaches have to reassess all the things that they were going to say, or, any comments that they were going to say to the team, because now the game state has changed dramatically in those final moments. And yeah, I don't know. It just sucked given everything that we just said about the first half. They weren't very impressive, New York Red Bull. Not that FCC was beaten down the door by any stretch. But yeah, it just sucks to have that come down to it that way. Yeah. I don't know if there's any comments on that. Yeah.
It's why everyone screams for, take more shots, especially when you're trailing. Cause it was a chaos goal. It was ripped from the top of the box or the top of the 18, deflection, finds its way right to Barlow, right place, right time, in front of goal with no one around him, finishes it off. Like you said, comically sort of dribbles into the goal past Roman. And yeah, this is exactly how New York draws the game plan up. They want the game sloppy, they want the game physical, and they want the chaos goal. They're not going to play beautiful soccer to get a goal. That's not going to happen. And right. Yeah, it was the whole thing we kept saying about this game going into it was you can't let them score first, because when they score first, they absolutely know how to do every little damn thing that annoys you to kill a game off. And we were staring down that at halftime. And I'm sure Noonan not exactly thrilled with because there's not a lot. Once you put Bopenza in the game, you sort of run out of bullets to shoot. As it were. At that point, What do you have left to change the game on the bench? Santos has been mostly ineffective this year. Kubo has been middlingly effective or inconsistently effective. So yeah, it sucks to give that goal up in that spot. You don't want to ever put them in a position to be up 1-0.
Yeah. Forgot to mention, but will at this point, Baji ripped an incredible shot at around the exact 30-minute mark, which was great. It was a good save on that one. And then, of course, right before all of this, Brandon Vasquez had a point-blank header that was somehow saved. Going back and zooming in on the replay, it does seem to bounce off of his shoulder before it makes its way goalward. Don't wonder if it's just coming straight off of his head, if it goes down faster, if it's not a goal. But yeah, disappointing first half, and the fear, the dread starts setting in that at halfway, you're down 1-0. You know how this New York Red Bull team likes to play. It feels inevitable that this is going to go to 3, and it doesn't feel good. We get to the 54th minute, and I definitely want to talk about this one. Reyes gets a yellow card for an insane, I guess we have to call it a tackle, hip check, body check, full body tackle into Santi Arias as Arias is passing to a on-running Vasquez, leading to a 2-on-2 breakaway. In the tackle, Arias, a full flip in the air, no exaggeration. This is pure momentum sending this man's entire body tumbling through the air. In that, Reyes brilliantly, I will say, very fucking frustrating, grabs his head to feint a head injury, and what looked like a promising attack is suddenly stopped dead in its tracks, and the concussion police come out to come check on a man whose head was not hit. Arias is somehow up off the ground faster and is furious that Reyes is even contemplating feigning an injury on this one and gets away with just a yellow card. Whoever wants to take it. One of the most egregious sequences I can remember in like a refereeing display. Like, this is pretty fucking bad to my vantage point. I don't know. Maybe everything was done according to how it should have been, but it looked absolutely insane. Grayson, I don't know. You're usually my go-to for referee decisions. Is this as bad as it looked?
I mean, I think it's as bad as it looked, but I think that, the Tom Barlow tackle in the first half should have been looked at, where he went studs up. He had perfect line of sight. There was nothing like it looked as intentional as it gets. It's just another example of how the Bengals intercept the ball.
Grayson's 10 seconds ahead of me.
Spoiler alert.
But it's another example how, like, you talked about Amaya having like the 3,000 succession, not getting yellow.
I saw an interception just here. That's pretty cool.
You had Arias getting a yellow quickly. Barlow still in the game. Reyes not getting more. The ref stopping the really, really promising attack. Oh. And like, you cannot, I mean, you had Lucho and Bupenza 2-on-2.
Yeah. Very similar to when they score the goal later in this game.
Yeah. It's just insane. And, if Barlow gets a red, he obviously doesn't score before the half.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, because of some stuff later in the game, I know people were talking about our decisions being made to try to help push these series to 3 games. That's not a silly thing to think, because the league has been very open and said the reason these are 3-game series is because Apple wanted more inventory, and having these series go 3 games each lets you hit a particular number that Apple was interested in hitting. But also there just seems to be Red Bull rules.
Yep.
And if I was a professional soccer league, I would not want to encourage a team to play like this. And like, I know FC Cincinnati can play a little tough, but they also play with the ball.
Yeah.
And they do cool things with the ball.
And FCC gets punished when they even approach whatever we might consider a line. Could you imagine if Miazga took out Tolkien and flipped him up and over the air and then faked a concussion to prevent a counterattack?
He'd be in prison.
Yeah, Taylor Twellman,
jail.
would be jail. Demanding his expulsion from the league. This is insane this is just allowed to happen.
And to the bigger point, if you're going to make this big push for concussion safety, and it becomes known that you will stop a game immediately if there is a suspicion of a concussion, you would be derelict in your duty as a player not to pretend that you were concussed constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, play going down at the other end? Yeah, I took a head injury. Stop the match. Stop the steal. Stop the count. It's just that sort of action, if it is confirmed or they have any sort of an inkling that you're doing that player needs to be suspended. That needs to be red card behavior to fake a concussion. And I know that they're going to say, how do you ever prove that it's fake? Or, oh, you give a red card to one person who actually is concussed and this will be the end and everyone will die of CTE or whatever. No, I'm sorry. It's absurd. And on this ref too, look, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know a lot about head injuries. But what I do know is that unless someone was going into like Damar Hamlin style cardiac arrest on the field, they could have let the play out for 30 seconds longer before sending the medical team on to check the dude's head. All right. Like on a 2v2 break or a promising attack, let them see what happens. And then as soon as the attack stops, you can blow the play dead and go check the dude. But unless he's about to die on the field, 30 seconds isn't going to kill anyone. All right.
So I'm going to make a confession here. I didn't actually watch the game.
Oh my God.
Bold that we've made it this far into the show.
You were doing a good job.
But you're going to let that ride. Cut that.
But it does feel like this is a referee who did not. I mean, I've seen clips and I did watch 80th minute onward, but
nice.
It did seem like a ref who did not have control of the game and was chasing it and was not actually getting under control, but more so by his actions pushing the game more out of control.
Yeah. I've never been a referee. I'll admit that. I'll probably never be a referee. But I feel like if you have a game spiraling out of control, you hold the game up for a moment at the next available pause. You pull the two captains together and you say, I'm carding literally everything for the next couple of minutes if you guys keep this up. And then you do that. You just start carding everything. And then you can try to get it back under control that way. I don't know. But like, you can't do this weird, like selective enforcement. And well, I have been letting it go for a while this way. So like, you've either got to put the reins on it or just accept the backyard brawl that you've allowed in this one. I don't know. I have an idea though.
Also, there needs to be a rule change in the sport.
Okay.
Legitimately, that if you are going to stop play because an opposing player is injured, in that situation, where the ball is whistled dead, FC Cincinnati, they should just drop the ball there with everybody in the exact same position, and it should be a 2v2, or it should be a free kick and everybody else has to be behind the free kick when it starts. Other than however many defenders there are. The idea that you can get an advantage from stopping that would stop this shit real quick if they were smarter and better about making sure that the restarts weren't this egalitarian gentlemanly bullshit. It's like, okay, you want to stop the match? We're going to restart it with you in exactly the same position as you would have been before.
I like that.
But it is insane. And this is how Red Bulls play, right?
Yes.
Was that they have a player who flips Santiago Arias, end over end in the air from a totally reckless tackle, not remotely playing the ball. And then he goes down to ground. And the net result of it is we lose a scoring opportunity.
Yeah. He did his job. That's like, that was It's so frustrating. So this is my idea. And Roman Celentano, I know you're listening, of course. So this is what you got to do. Next time, let's say, I don't know, Philadelphia has a break, right? They're coming down. The field is wide enough. They'll be coming down from either the left or the right. That's fine. Whatever side they're coming down, you immediately start sprinting that direction. You're gonna close the short side there, and I need you to Three Stooges run into the goalpost and immediately grab your head. Holy shit. Roman's momentum took him into the goalpost. He might have a concussion. We have to stop this play immediately. It would be unfair to shoot on a concussed goalkeeper at this moment. And we may have to spend 5-10 minutes looking at you. And you'll be fine because you will have faked all of this, of course. As we've learned from New York Red Bulls, this is completely acceptable and within the rules. And then your entire defense is back on defense. You're good. And then play it out. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but from what I'm seeing, every goalkeeper should be pretending to run into a goalpost on every single fast break. So,
or have your own player attack your own player. Just like
I like that.
Like Miazga can just run up and just, elbow Celentano right in the head. Sorry, man, you got to take one for the team.
It seemed like the ref was like getting everything, like he was like a puppet to some. I'm not meaning like there's overlords, but like everything was like he wasn't quite sure of every decision. Then it comes back to later, like the debate of, is he pointing for a foul at the end of stoppage time, or was he saying we had a goal? And then they're like, no, it was never a goal. It's like every decision he made was like kind of weird and kind of like slightly delayed, except the one time you didn't want him to be delayed, which was when you want the advantage to be played. And he's like, I'm on it, guys. Don't worry. I'm here. Which I thought, the advantage was more egregious than not being a red card in my mind. You got to let that shit go. But, it was one of those nights. It seemed like everything, we always feel like everything's against us. So that's fine.
That's true.
And then, but there was enough things tonight where you're like, all right, come on.
It's kind of a resting state as a fan base, is like on the edge of panic at all times.
When did Bupenza go for the midfield shot? That really wasn't close, but like the announcer got me excited for a second because he was so hyped on it. He was like, "Oh, Bupenza!" I was like, it wasn't even close, but I was like, "Yeah."
Was that like almost as soon as he got in?
Maybe it was.
It might have even been his first touch or something.
I got really mad when he did that too, because I was like, look, Lucho makes one of these. That doesn't mean that they all go in. Okay. It's not a great idea for everyone now. Lucho
if you
gets
hit
to
that
do
perfectly,
this.
It had a chance.
I like it as like a it's like going for the deep ball on the very first play of the game in the NFL. It's like if you make it, great. But what it is it's a signal to the defense that you will do this. Like you have this in your back pocket. So it's a way to pin their keeper back in my mind of like, I will do this. You need to stay back as far as possible because if given the opportunity, I will shoot some wild shit your direction there.
It's just, there's an unrestrained confidence about it that I really love.
That's the other thing. I always love it when guys do it for that exact reason. Like, I love that. That's where your head's at. That's a good spot. Mentally, you're in the right spot there.
But having said that, don't fucking do it. It's
a little bit of a waste. 69th minute.
Nice.
Not so nice. Yuya Kubo comes in for Obina Nwobodo there. I didn't see anything that looked like he was injured on a given play, which always worries me. Thankfully, I don't think we play the next game until like Groundhog's Day. So we've got some time, but you don't want to see OB go down. If there is one player who is more important than the others, OB is on the very short list of people who's more important than the others on this team. Grayson, what's your panic level on a OB injury coming out of this one?
I can't. The thought of not having OB for the next round is just too horrifying for me to even like consider. So I'm just gonna. We have 3 weeks. That's a 2 week from now problem.
This is also, the Ministry of Magic approach to bad things.
Yeah,
deny that it's happening.
It's not real. The other thing too is that in that moment, so you're down 1-0, and to a certain extent, goals just don't matter. A 5-0 loss is the same as a 1-0 loss. So yeah, I hope that whatever the knock was that Obi picked up, it wasn't oh my God, we have to get him out immediately, he's very hurt. And I hope it was a combination of, he picked up a bit of a knock. And also, do we really need Obi in this match? We need to score a goal. It would be great having Obi to play defense, but it would be even better to have someone score a goal and get this game to PKs. So why risk it? Let's bring him out. So I'm hoping, and maybe this is, some cope as opposed to hope. I'm hoping that it possibly isn't a serious thing. We'll find out, I guess. But yes, it's horrifying to think that this team could be without Obi, especially given how desperately thin the backline situation is going to be, thanks to some shenanigans we'll discuss momentarily.
We also got, before he came out, a classic Obi tackle, which was called a foul outside the box. I think that might have been in the first half too. We had one where it was like, okay, maybe that was a foul. Then he had another one right at the corner of the box where there was never a replay where it looked like it was a foul, but nobody else would attempt that tackle. So he's like, that's going to be a foul every day, even if you won the ball, buddy. Sorry. So it's nice to see that the ref is at least consistent in one thing, and that's calling Obi for fouls, just because it looks like an impossible tackle that he might have actually made.
It should be noted as well that this was, of all the soccer games I've watched recently, this was some of the worst set pieces from the two teams combined that I think I have ever seen. It's up there on the list of worst set pieces.
There's no way you came into this podcast wanting to talk about set pieces.
Oh my God. No, I did, actually. How many times did New York have the ball and we committed fouls where you would look over? I looked over to Kevin at least twice watching this and said, in any other league, this is absolutely a goal. Like dead on.
He did say that.
Like 3 yards outside the box, and just awful shot after awful shot after awful shot that New York took. I think they had at least 4 opportunities on free kicks where you would expect the ball to at least get on frame, where Roman had to do nothing in terms of actually saving this. And then beyond that, it was the over on corners hit, I think, in the first half. And there was maybe 1 corner kick total where a threatening opportunity came as a result. So, yeah, Obi's committing fouls, but New York couldn't do shit when it came to anything resembling a threatening set piece. So I foul away. It doesn't matter in this league.
Tolkien did have one where I was like, oh, Jesus, this is like the perfect distance to shoot from. And he floated a pass to the back that we cleared. And it was like, oh my God. Almada's watching this for Atlanta. I would have had 5 goals. But just someone on your team has to be able to take that shot. But it's true. It was instant relief when the free kicks actually happened. So
yeah,
more free kick talk in segment 2. We're deep diving into free kicks just for Grayson.
I mean, just to keep the theme rolling, 74th minute, 75th minute, excuse me.
Thank you.
New York Red Bulls have a free kick. It's Rivas again, but this time it is blocked by what could be described as Brandon Vasquez's nutsack, and it bounces to Bupenza.
Nutsack.
He did a great job.
So he had a good game after all.
Bounces to Bupenza, charging at the New York Red Bulls, does a little behind the back flick to himself, passes over to Lucho. Lucho and him running alongside each other, charging at the back line. Lucho passes the ball to Bupenza. Bupenza with the left foot of the aforementioned God buries his shot. An incredible moment. He tries the knee slide. It doesn't work. He flips, successfully somersaults right out of it. And FCC ties this game up with 15 minutes left to play. I've never been happier to tie a game up until that point. Like that was so magical. I don't know.
DP status validated.
Yes, that was
spoiled by Pat Brennan on Twitter.
What was that?
He said, "Oh, Bupenza goal," and like it hadn't happened on TV yet. I'm like, and like I think their free kick was just starting, so I'm like, how the fuck do we score off? And then like, so I'm just waiting, and like, you know, my family's just like losing it, and I'm like, you stole my joy, Pat. But that's what I get for checking Twitter at that exact moment. But then during the penalties, I'm like refreshing. I was like, I just want to know. Come on, Pat, just tell me. I just want to know. I just want to know. But how about Bupenza? The ball stuck under his feet, like that replay, like.
Yeah,
that's an awkward shot from where like it might be his fault based on where like his dribble and where the ball ended up. But the fact he got that out of his feet with that power and that perfect placement, not a lot of people could do that.
No.
That's a shot Vasquez trips over a lot this year and has tripped over a lot this year. Can we talk about Bupenza's celebration too? He points to his head. What was that all about?
First, he does the worst knee slide you've seen in your entire life. He falls over, and then he gets up and he points to his head. And I guess he's trying to say like, "My head's on straight."
That's what I took it as. It's like not a head case. Yeah.
I thought that was like, I saw this before it happened. That's a Jedi reflex.
I like that. It wasn't a backflip, but I did like a somersault. So we're in the gymnastics, you know, sort of variety.
It was an accident.
Was
it sliding?
I'll take it. I'll take an accidental backflip.
Was he doing a visual meme inside your head rent free?
And was that to Albright? No.
What would you think if he does an airplane and then like looks at his watch and then starts running? Like, is that endearing to you?
Late for a flight.
Yeah, he looks at his watch first. Yeah,
he lays down to sleep and then checks his watch. Like,
the overslept.
Like, it's so niche, no one gets it.
I generally think you should stay away from like narrative based goal celebrations, because it just reminds me of the MLS's back tournament when the team did the driving the bus celebration because they've been like accused of just parking the bus
and then the goal got disallowed.
That goal was disallowed.
Oh man.
Not accused of parking the bus. We parked the bus. We totally parked the bus.
It was the only thing that worked.
I guess the discussion then was whether parking the bus was literally the only thing that they could do, or it was a brilliant stratagem by masterclass tactician Jaap Stam.
I think the possibility is that it was the only strategy Jaap Stam understood. It was capable of teaching and instructing.
Currently unemployed, Jaap Stam. I'm just going to keep saying that. Even when he eventually gets a job, he's always going to be unemployed to me.
Like he had the players out there saying, Jaap, you were an all-world player. What would you have done in this situation? Probably something talented that you're incapable of. So get back there and defend, loser.
Yeah. All right, Skip.
Yeah, I assume Stam is still unemployed because a lot of people think he should be employed by now. Oof. But he's just going to be like unemployed for like a year and a half longer than he should be.
Who would hire him? Where's his next job?
Dutch Division 2 or something.
Yeah, he could still get a job in the Netherlands, right?
Saudi's a good shout, though. You know, one of those teams in front of like 30 fans with a roster that somehow is being like 50 million pounds. Yeah.
Saudi Arabia makes way more sense. I like to think the Dutch actually have like some respect for themselves and for the sport, and look at his resume and go, nah, man, like let's take a chance on an up and comer. Go prove yourself in Australia or something, please.
The right answer turns out is San Diego. San Diego.
Oh no! Don't do that. There's nice people in San Diego.
Phil Neville's gonna get that job in Portland, right?
Jesus, that might be the epitome of everything wrong with MLS. But
he's got a good agent.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I had to double check that it was the right Neville. I was like, is there a third Neville who was the Miami guy? Like, I'm not even like being funny. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, no, it's him. It's him.
The true chosen one.
But yeah, the beginning of that goal, like I kept seeing the highlight from like when the break started and he does the back heel, or not back heel, but behind his leg.
Yeah.
It's so much funnier when you realize it came off that free kick. Like when I was watching the highlight, like immediately, and it was the same dude who scuffs his penalty at the end. Yeah. So that guy had a night.
My favorite part is when Edelman is trying to keep up with Lucho, and Edelman does he does the class. Oh, it looks to me like he's doing the classic like New York Red Bull defensive move of jumping and lunging and grabbing at the attacker. And he just misses because he's still young. He's not as schooled in that yet.
Gets his feet caught up.
It wasn't as bad as Murphy, who, I didn't think Murphy had a terrible night, but, you could point to the goal. And then he has that one time where the guy just did like a pretty basic cutback and Murphy just drops like, who's the guy for Bayern? When Messi cut, like it was like almost like Boateng? That, where like it was Boateng, the defending Boateng, and just like a sack of potatoes. Murphy goes down, and the whole crowd like ooh, and then it's one of those things like in basketball, you immediately take the three, no matter how far back you are. You drop the guy, you take the three. But in this case, it was like not a scenario where the guy could shoot, but like it was like a heat check moment, and then he just like passed it off. I'm like, bro, you got to hit that ball. I don't care what happens. You drop him anywhere near the box, you got to shoot. But shout out to Murphy for existing after that happened.
I mean, there's plenty to talk about in say the 97th minute, we'll call it, in this one, but Murphy, I think, had in general an okay game, but he has a couple of moments in this game where he damn near costs the game. I mean, obviously, like you said, the goal, he has a couple of really bad giveaways. There's a couple of moments where he's sort of played the ball in an impossible situation and does something worse than you think would be possible than just like clearing it or bouncing it out of bounds. He was constantly, under pressure and making poor decisions with the ball. And I mean, he's a second-year pro. It's really hard to get on him too much.
I didn't have a problem with it, just because. I mean, the entire first half and for most of the second half, the game plan from FC Cincinnati was to play out the back, and the entire time it was just on the verge of one of those when playing out the back goes horribly wrong.
It was terrifying.
It was just the press was so high from Red Bulls, and they're making one-touch passes back to the middle of the field, and the version of me that played 8th grade CYO is just screaming, you don't play that back to the middle. Not towards the middle.
But and we didn't get enough after like beating it. It's like we're doing all this, they're playing high, and then sometimes we just ended up launching it. But if we kept possession, nothing was happening after that. So it's like we're not really getting the reward of possessing it. Yeah. So could we just boot it for the sake of my heart? Like, because we're not gaining anything by passing it around. Eventually it's leading to Celentano being on his weaker foot, maybe kicking it out of bounds or meekly kicking it, making it to the halfway line. But a lot of heart in your throat kind of moments. But they didn't get anything off of those, but it just took a few years off my life, unfortunately.
Yeah. Celentano's weak foot. Pretty weak.
Much better than mine, but weak nonetheless. Yeah. And then sometimes you don't realize it until it happens, where you realize it was the weak foot after, and you're like, what the fuck was that, bro? Like, oh, okay.
He took a couple, though, off of his left that it felt like an intentional choice.
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
it was weird. It was so weird.
Trying to prove a point. Get on the leg press machine for the left? Can we do something about this?
It's like he slices it really bad with his left. His right, he can drive it generally where he wants. His left, man, it'll go the distance mostly. It just seems sort of random as to where exactly it's going to end up. And then I guess we got to talk about this one, huh? The game, I thought, ended with a goal. It looked like an Olympico. It looked like a weird deflection off of Santos. It looked like, at first viewing, we tackled the goalkeeper into the goal. Lucho Acosta swings in the corner. It deflects, or it doesn't. I don't think it deflects. I think the ball goes into the goal directly. New York Red Bulls keeper pushes the ball away. It pushes against Santos's arm, bounces back into the goal. Now, I don't know if Santos is in the goal or the ball is already in the goal by the time that little sequence happens. But the referee blows his whistle. I think he blows his whistle, but at the very least does the very dramatic point to the center circle. That is the goal signal for those of you keeping track at home. And FC Cincinnati celebrates on the field as if they've just won. And a little hooday. Lucho Acosta with an all-timer of a GIF, by the way, that you will see passing around on the internet, screaming, fuck you guys, over and over again.
The great tragedy.
Section.
Which, honestly, that GIF should be like getting a 5 on the AP exam. That should exempt you from having to take the test for citizenship. The fact that in that hype moment, you chose to scream "fuck you" in English at this crowd.
Fuck you in his little voice.
Yeah, you were truly an American at this point.
That's a good point. I would love the audio of that. somebody in the Viking army
holding him back, like he's gonna go in there and fight the crowd or something.
That deserved to be the ending of the game, which is also that saves us Miazga. It saves us heart attacks. Someone died. Someone died last night. I don't know who, but someone this night died. It saves so much, and that being the last image of the game. Oh. I love, if it wasn't a yellow card, Miazga being a total shithead is great until the yellow card, but that was so much better because the brotherhood, the bros, the fuck yous, then Kubo getting hit in the chest,
the DX chops on his.
Kubo absolutely.
The chop might be. I don't remember.
No, the fuck you is after the goal that was disallowed, but I think the chop was after the penalties.
But
just a blur of shithousing.
I will say, Abby in the Discord had a fantastic frame-by-frame breakdown of the disallowed goal celebration. That includes, and I completely agree with her, Miazga is pulling back Acosta so hard and pulling him up so hard, he does appear to lose consciousness for about a half a second.
It's the pass-out game.
He does. His eyes go a little blurry there for a moment. He comes back. But
Kubo looked so Kubo realizing he got hit with something. His face, he's like, "What the he was so sad." And he was like, "I'm literally the nicest guy. I get yellow cards when I don't do anything. I'm just I don't say anything." And then it's I got hit with a beer? Fuck, man.
Okay, so in this moment, you can't pick Matt Miazga for this as well. But if there was going to be a Malice at the Palace moment with an FC Cincinnati player going into the crowd to fight someone, who would it be?
Lucho.
Maybe Baji. He's almost gotten into it multiple times this year, and every time it surprises me.
Sorry, not who we want in the fight, because I would really love to see Lucho do that. It would be a funny corollary to his Lucha-Roo celebration where he jumped into the crowd celebratory. No, who we think would do it? Bupenza.
But he's like already like uncomfortable. He's already uncomfortably down for the fight and for the badge right now after only been here for a month and a half.
Actually, I think I think it might be Mascara.
I was about to say, Yerson feels right in this space.
He's ready to go at all times. He's so mad at everybody.
I got to give you credit too, Jonah, with the on Twitter that it's the Wolves. It's been noted the Wolves sent Yerson here because he just needed to learn a little maturity. And it's like, who is his mentor on the back line? It's Matt Miazga. It's like, he's learning all the wrong lessons on how to be a pro.
He's getting more so much.
Yes, he's getting it. But yeah,
he goes back to Colombia, and they're like, "This guy might be too high-headed for this league."
He gets more in game. He gets like gameplay yellow cards, which
yes,
I think we can all agree is better because I think you're doing something then. Yeah,
I can only think of like one card for Yerson this year that was just like dead ball screaming at the ref.
Yeah.
That is an interesting point. Yeah, I want Miazga to learn more from Mascara, actually, because I enjoy Mascara's level of shithousery, which is slightly different variety than Miazga's, but I think equally annoying to the opposing team. But yeah, I'm looking at the recap right now. 90th plus 9 minute, Matt Miazga yellow card dissent. 99th minute, Matt Miazga excessive celebration. So well done. He got 2 yellow cards in the same minute, as far as I'm concerned, but did not result in a red for reasons we knew before the game. I will go into that. But yes, this is the moment where Matt Miazga picks up his first yellow card of the match. And if you didn't believe that until I said that, I would not blame you, because I didn't believe it until I read it on here. His first yellow in this game comes from contesting the disallowed goal. Now, in fairness, it did appear that he put his finger right in the ref's face and screamed, "Fuck you." So I don't know what else was supposed to happen there, but yeah, he gets a yellow caution for talking back to the ref.
To be fair, it felt very match fixy in the moment.
100%.
That the official clearly made the "you scored a goal" thing motion, and then the goal was disallowed without a VAR check happening. I thought that he would at least have to do the courtesy of going to the monitor to look at the play again. I didn't think you were allowed to just disallow a goal over the headset. Did I miss that rule change?
So this is, as far as I can piece together, this is what they're saying happened. And look, don't call me a narc, but I think there's enough evidence to at least back up the majority of this narrative. So the point to the center circle is the universal goal has been awarded thing generally. It is also the exact same hand motion you might make if you had just called a foul and would like a direct free kick to take place going that direction, say towards the center circle. So he blows the whistle, walks towards the alleged spot of the foul. So what they're saying is that the referee called a foul on the play, saying that some combination of Santos and Bupenza fouled the Red Bull goalkeeper, pushing him into the goal, making him unable to make a save. He calls a foul. There was a check to the booth, and the booth confirmed the call that it was a foul. So as far as what happened on the field officially, they are saying no goal was ever disallowed.
So
lies.
So please.
there was shifting stories on this though. And whenever there's shifting stories, it's like we're trying to fit. We're trying to find the story that makes this make sense and makes us look like we didn't screw up. So it does not look like he calls a foul.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it
on the play.
None of the players react like he called a foul.
Nobody seems to think that he called a foul.
There's some people on Discord who wrongly think that.
He doesn't make any like signal that we could tell. Like he clearly can see that everybody thinks there's a goal. He's not, waving it off or anything, which they do sometimes.
Right.
He doesn't like go to the ball. Like,
no,
like, okay. Like he steps toward the goal. Well, he's like mid stride, like he could have walked all the way to the spot of the foul, which is another thing that they do all the time. Right. So I think the evidence of the referee's gestures or whatever was extremely inconclusive. I didn't hear it, but somebody said that there was a recording of him. He could be heard saying that they said it was no goal or something like that. They called it no goal. And then later, you can see like Pat Brennan's understanding of, whatever happened evolving as they're changing the information they're providing to him. So later they say, well, he called a foul or a handball or something, and whatever he called a foul. And then the booth confirmed it. Fine. Release the audio.
Yeah.
Release the refs. And I don't want to hear just the booth audio. I want to hear the entire audio from the moment of the goal. Like go as far back as you need to get the entire moment, put it out there, let us see what's called on the spot. And if they don't do that, I'm going to believe what my eyes tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, the damning evidence for this is that absolutely no one reacts as if the goal has been disallowed. Everyone celebrates. The New York players don't react as if the goal's been disallowed.
They don't run up to the ref or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. They're screaming for it to happen. Not that it's already happened. They're screaming for something to be called. That's not the behavior of, we got the call we wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
It's chaotic. It's very confusing.
This playoff format exists to give Apple more playoff game inventory. That's the whole reason why we play best of 3 instead of 2 legs, home and away, or single elimination. And again, it was one of a number of decisions that were made in this game where it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And if that's the Red Bulls who score that goal, there's no way, especially in Red Bull Stadium, they're not doing anything with that goal. Also, I'd like to, do we find out, they said a foul. Are they saying, was it the ref being impeded? Did they say it was the handball? Not ref, the goalie being impeded? Or was it the handball?
They call it the goalie being impeded. Yeah, is what they're saying. Which
he jumped into his own net.
Right. Oh no, we lost Grayson. What a cliffhanger! Oh, okay, so you're back.
So I'm not totally sold that there wasn't a foul there. I think it was pretty soft if there was. But if the ball didn't go into the goal off Lucho's foot, it does look like it hit Santos's arm.
Yeah.
Which would be even down at the side, goal.
Yeah. So
I'm not even sure they got the call wrong, but the process of it was entirely fucked up. Right. And we need to be, and I think they kind of owe it to us to just be fully transparent. Like, don't just explain it.
Right.
Right. Like, you have the tape.
Yeah.
Give it to us.
You play it all out. And this is another opportunity to say MLS, for some reason, does not have goal line technology. They claim that it's impossible to install in all of the stadiums. This is a perfect example of where that goal line technology would, could radically alter how this game and then subsequent games ended up playing out. But yeah, the ball playing off of the arm was the explanation I was giving to people in the bar. You could barely hear any of the TV commentary of like the ball just cannot go off of a hand, no matter where it was, close to your body or whatever. You can't score off of the hand. That's the only piece of it that made sense to me. But yeah, if it goes directly into the net, doesn't look like that goalkeeper's being coerced into his own goal. Yeah, I think it should stand. Now we go to penalties, where I get to bring up match fixing once again. This is where I will look to my I don't know, anybody who may be practicing the legal profession about whether or not things are allowed to be called this or not. But New York Red Bulls, FC Cincinnati, they come together with the referee to determine the penalty kicks. If you're not familiar, there's typically 2 coin flips that happen at this moment. The first coin flip, it determines, if you win the coin flip, you get to pick which side of the field you take the penalties on. And then there's a second coin flip, and if you win that one, you get to decide if you go first or second. That is how almost all of these go. And I have to say almost, because MLS created a new fun rule for us, which is they have already, as a league, predetermined the side that all of the penalties will be taken in I guess every stadium. And that side, just so happened to be in front of the New York Red Bulls supporters group, or the supporters section, or the all standing 35 section. Of them. Now, they had to pick that side, I think, because the other side had even fewer than that.
Get off my timeline, fucking assholes.
Yeah, jerks. Jonathan Tannenwald was the first one to report this, that the referee was told by the league which side. I, acting as the post, so I hope you all agreed with this, because I took us on a pretty bold stance here, declared this as match fixing.
I'll allow it. Lawsuit incoming.
I can't, and the example I gave in the follow-up is, if a referee was using a rigged coin to determine the outcome of this, that would be match fixing-ish, I guess. But the league has gone ahead and just made these decisions for everybody. I fail to see the difference. I don't know. Is this worth getting upset about now that it'll benefit FCC going forward?
I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that it wasn't a rule. Look, to be fair, I like the rule. If it was kind of the established rule, right. But we didn't get the benefit of it against Inter Miami in the Open Cup. We didn't get the benefit of it against Nashville in Leagues Cup.
Yep.
So, and I have not been able to find where this rule is published.
Makes you think.
So even MLS referee stats, a very annoying account on Twitter, they're annoying for this specific reason. They made a very confident assertion about the rule, where they said something like, they predetermined under the laws of the game, they predetermined what side the penalties would be on. Because you have to say under the laws of the game, because it makes you sound like you know what you're talking about.
That sounds good.
He said under the laws of the game, they predetermined where the penalties would go due to safety concerns, right?
Sure. Good. Yeah.
Which is
the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Very, very bold assertion. And he in a follow-up tweet, that's a reply, so it's not as prominent, he posted a screenshot of the rule. And the rule says that where teams kick will be determined by a coin flip. And then it says unless other circumstances, and then there were parentheses, and there was a list, and then it was etc. Make this not prudent or not feasible or something along those lines. And it's you've taken this of like minor, almost afterthought exception to the general rule, and you just declared like they had to do it this way.
The league ordering it is definitely other circumstances.
Reason. Yeah.
Oh man.
Agreed.
It's terrible. And yeah, like I love that the exceptions are there because they're like, well, okay, you can imagine a hypothetical where it'd be impossible if for one reason or another, this side of the field would be unable to. We got to give people an out. But we can't even think of a good hypothetical to actually include here in the rule book. So we'll throw an et cetera on here.
Yeah, the et cetera is for those stadiums in Central America where they have to bring the people out in riot shields to guard players taking corner kicks. Like, that's what this is for. It's not for MLS wants the TV visuals to be better with these players lining up against backdrops of screaming fans. That's bullshit.
And I love,
I wouldn't have a problem. I'm with Grayson. I wouldn't have
found that this rule announced anywhere.
Right.
I don't have a problem with them doing this, but like, let this be known well in advance. Like, say, okay, at the end of these games, we're going directly to a penalty shootout. The penalty shootout will always be in front of the home supporters section. Fine. That's a massive bit of home field advantage. But it feels really made up, like really, really made up.
And how are you going to claim safety and then put it in front of the supporters section? If it was for safety and it was away from the supporters section, I believe it 10 times more. Like, oh, who are the most likely people in this stadium to hurl shit at the players? Let's make sure we put it right in front of them.
Where we most likely get a flagpole thrown at a cameraman.
Where's the pink dildo likely to come from?
Oh God. So
PKs.
PKs. I will say I don't like the rule. I think that's bad. And that this is just another situation where MLS is just deciding to be different for no apparent reason. And it just makes the league that much less serious. And it's sad that in a league that is desperate to be relevant on a national and international stage, they continue to do dumb shit like this. Anyway, we go to penalties, and it takes 10 rounds to separate these teams. I guess it's more easier is what I was about to say. It's easier to talk about the misses here. But I'll go through FCC's real quick. Acosta and Kubo make theirs. Fernandez and Amaya make theirs for New York Red Bull. Up comes Santiago Arias. Woof. I think this guy, he can place a ball. This is a world-class player coming up here. One of the worst penalties we've seen for FCC. That was pretty rough.
Whose was worse? Hagelin's in the Open Cup or Arias's here? I'd say they're about equal.
Arias, I think Hagelin got a little further over if you watch the replay.
I'll say Hagelin struck it with passion, at least. Like, give me a guy skying it 10 times out of 10 before the guy doing this shit.
Can I pose a question, Kevin?
You may.
To this loyal... I'll ask the audience too. You yell at your speaker. The question, would you rather brutally sail a penalty over or meekly hit one on frame? Both are misses. What would you rather do? Would you rather show that you can hit the ball harder than a little baby, but not even close to the goal? Or do you want it, like, hey, it was on frame. It always had a chance. What are you picking, Chief?
Always on frame, because at the very least, you can say, I did my homework and the keeper usually goes left, so, or whatever it is. You can always explain your way out of that. If you sail it, there's no coming back from that one.
unless it's a caught Panenka, if like even it's like the guy who stands there and catches it. I think that's probably the worst one that could happen to you.
Yeah, I think the worst outcome is the worst outcome. I think is probably that you kick it wide.
Yeah.
Second worst is you kick it straight and the keeper stands there and doesn't have to do anything to save it. That would be really embarrassing. And then third would be the skies it over after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
Tough scenes.
Yeah. Arias misses his. And at that point you think, well, shit. There's no way we're getting back into this one. Like,
let me tell you, folks, Roman did not look good for the overwhelming majority of these takes. To the point,
at least he didn't dance, though. At least he didn't dance like Ali Khan did.
There were a couple with Roman where I felt like instead of just picking a direction and going with it, he was trying to get some sort of a read, and it ended up with a couple of half-hearted. Where, like, even if he guesses right, he's not going to make it to any of these shots.
Yeah, I don't wonder if Evan LaRoe's training ground game shouldn't give way to Roman and just get Roman some more penalty reps, man. That was rough. It's just like, it looks like kind of like how you'd play with your friends who are not goalkeepers on a whim, and you put them inside a real full-size net and you take penalty shots. They don't move. I don't know if you've ever done that. Nobody moves. Nobody's diving for these. That's kind of how Roman played this one. It was...
It hurts to dive.
Yeah, you're not gonna. Why would you put your ribs on the line for something like that, right? But thank God, I feel like Grayson almost beat for beat described this moment. He might have had a Maya. It might have been Tolkien on the last podcast stepping up to take the last penalty. Tolkien steps up and just beams it off of the post, almost right back at him. And we're back in business. All of a sudden, game is back on. Matt Miazga, Aaron Bupenza, Sergio Santos step up, crush all of theirs. New York Red Bull.
We're blowing by John Tolkien missing his penalty.
Oh, we should talk about this a little more.
I apologize. We spent that time on set pieces.
We're out of time. We're out of tape.
The Bengals are up 21-7. This game's over.
Nothing to talk about now.
Just knocked
fuck
on
John
wood.
Tolkien. Just fuck John Tolkien. It couldn't happen to a nicer fellow.
Unbelievable miss. And it's always so much better when the goalie has, like, he could have tapped it as softly as he wanted, because Celentano's laying on the ground on the other side. But no, he didn't. He was like, I'm aiming. There's no way he's getting a hand on this. And you know what? He didn't. You know who did? Mr. Pohl. And it just couldn't. It's better him than Frankie, honestly. More poetic that Frankie missed. Like, I was screaming at the TV, like, you owe us. This one's for the fans, Frankie. Shake it, Frankie. And he didn't. But Tolkien, like, that felt more correct in the moment. Yeah. So I'm glad it was him. And they still could have won.
They still could have won, because after Sergio Santos, it was Yerson Mosquera. He misses his. And at that moment, I think, look, you're your ninth taker, young center back. At this point, we're in uncharted territory. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to get too mad at the defender not crushing his penalty there. From what I remember, I don't have a replay of it. It was a fine penalty. It was a defender's penalty. It could have obviously been better, but
why do you think about the two Colombian kickers missing?
You want to talk about match fixing?
Oh no. Something to keep an eye on. I like this. This is a narrative we need to track.
It'll be the two Escobars 2.
Oh
no. Many people were saying at Molly Malone's that they were confused why you would sub Sergio Santos, a striker, into the match, and he would not be one of your first couple of penalty takers, as opposed to Arias taking a penalty. And then we had to remind said individual that Santiago Arias is probably the most experienced person you could possibly have taking penalties in this situation.
I don't know exactly when he took it, Kevin. Maybe you're looking right at the list, but I thought it was odd how low on it Moreno was for how good his penalty was. I was like, man, this guy must fucking hate taking penalties. And then he stepped up and fucking drilled it. And I was like, hey, man, maybe you could have taken it before a couple of these misses, you know? Just a thought.
Fun fact, Moreno was our 10th taker. The only person behind him is Celentano.
Well, they need to reevaluate that fucking list because his penalty was a banger.
Yeah.
Because that is who steps up to save the day. New York Red Bull then missed theirs. This was a, oh God, I don't remember. How was this missed? Was this a sky?
Save. No, this was a save. Oh, sky. No, he skies. Yeah, this was a skying.
Yeah, because it is Reyes who steps up after Moreno buries his. The pressure's on a miss, and you're done. And Reyes finally gave Roman Celentano the opportunity to be the hero, saves the penalty, does the Jordan documentary from the super creepy security guard shrug thing going on, was fucking hilarious. And
which is it's a bold celebration for a man that got a hand on one of the 10 penalties that were taken. Like I love the energy, but like
no one on social media is going to has watched the rest of it, and they're just going to see that and they're like, Celentano had a good PK. So I mean, it was the right move for him.
Did you see Fox Soccer's tweet where they put up a meme of it's the Spider-Man meme, which I will always laugh that it's backwards, but Peter Parker without his glasses, and it's the Argentinian goalkeeper from the World Cup. Oh fuck! What was his name? McAllister? Is that it? Martinez. And
McAllister.
Sorry,
Kevin McAllister
is the other one. Then he puts his glasses back on, and it's Roman Celentano. It's like,
dominant.
What?
Dominant performance. So we did skip over the.
Yeah, we need to talk about it.
The announcer was talking about the kid who, like the young guy though, that's the one who sailed it, right? Like and like, oh, what a story! They're putting their trust in the youngster, and then like I was like, you don't want to put too much trust in the young guy. Maybe a little bit too much pressure for him.
Also, putting the trust in, I think legally you have to run through your entire 11 before you can go again. He was the 9th taker, man. Like, that's not a lot of trust. Make him the second kid taker. Like this.
The other storyline coming out of this penalty shootout, however, is that during the penalty shootout, when one Mr. Matt Miazga buries his penalty, decides in that moment to really show the New York crowd what he thinks of them.
Wow.
And I don't understand this a little bit. Like I understand he's an epic shithead and I love him dearly for that, but he doesn't hate the Red Bulls. Like
I think he does for some reason. I
don't know why. Like he's done interviews in the past where he says he enjoyed his time there. He liked his teammates when he was there. This was like a recent interview that he did talking about all of the players he played with. The one MLS writer, that Charles Boehm guy or whatever his name is referencing this. Like, yeah, I just interviewed the man. He doesn't have a lot of negative thoughts about New York. Yet in that moment, you would have thought that's the reaction I expect from Frankie in Cincinnati. The going to the Bailey, giving the heart,
sarcastic heart.
Yeah.
Now, hang on. We need to keep kayfabe here. It was not sarcastic. He was truthfully and earnestly expressing his
Charles
love and
Bain was
adoration.
like, I think that's genuine. I would be like, that ain't genuine, buddy. I'll tell you what. And it's his second penalty moment because in the Gold Cup, he did the same. He tried to psych out the goalie.
Yes.
And we ended up fucking blowing it afterwards. And like, it just felt like karmic justice for him. So, I mean, could you imagine an MLS Cup final? Just like, he'll be on like 30 out of 10. And I'm kind of scared for the thought. I mean, obviously, I hope we get there. But yeah, what a moment.
Yeah. Miazga. Now this will be an interesting one. So I know some people said like taunting the crowd or whatever, at least on MLS soccer.com. Matt Miazga is booked for excessive celebration, which if he is giving love to the New Jersey crowd, it might be tough to argue that it wasn't an excessive amount of love to the New Jersey crowd. So
it did remind me a little bit of the Key and Peele sketch too, where yes. Touchdown celebrations where you get two pelvic thrusts. Yes. And if you do the third pelvic thrust, they've got to throw the flag
because he's got the 3.
Yeah, he's got the heart out, and the official, comes wandering over. The keeper's giving him, hey, stop that. The officials stop that. He turns around and does it one more time, and that's when the yellow card comes out.
Yeah, he doesn't know his limit, unfortunately.
Now, he does not get a red card immediately, or I should say even at all, because the or the penalty kicks that happen in this, the shootout, they happen in a sort of what is the some sort of like vacuum? Nether realm between actual games, and so purgatory, Jesus, that's what I was looking for. It's a purgatory between matches where yellow cards can happen in there, but yellow cards that happen previous to them do not interact with the yellow cards that happen in there, and the yellow cards in there do not interact with the yellow cards that happen outside of there. Except in that, if you accumulate 3 yellow cards through the course of the playoffs, you get suspended for the next match, which is unfortunate because I was really hoping that there were some weasel words in there that you had to pick up the yellow cards in playoff matches. And they thankfully avoided putting something very explicit like that in the rules, because then you could argue that you can't get accumulation yellow cards in the penalty kicks. But as far as I read it, he is indeed suspended for the next round. It's going to be hard to argue.
Yes.
Yeah. And unless
they appeal and it gets taken.
Unless it's rescinded.
The team has apparently said that it's appealable. I don't see how. This is not a situation where you get called for a foul and video later shows you made 0 contact.
Mm-hmm.
This is a situation where a ref is making an interpretation of your actions in the moment. It's a pure judgment call from the referee. It's insane to me that this is the kind of taunting that drew a yellow card, and players do all kinds of things toward the crowd and they get nothing. But this ref in his infinite wisdom, I'm assuming fully aware that Miazga would be suspended the next game, but making this decision, decided to single out this moment.
Yeah.
Match fixing moment number 3.
Yeah, maybe, you think maybe they need to have fuck you would be more than that, huh?
Yeah, is there some sort of an exception that for safety of the player they can rescind this yellow? Because TQL Stadium is not going to do well in a match where Matt Miazga isn't playing. I'm not saying there will be violence if this yellow card isn't rescinded, but I'm not saying there won't be violence.
Well, think about
storm
this.
The field.
Who is now suddenly the most likely to pull the sword at the next home playoff game? Do you really want to give Matt Miazga a sword? You've only brought this upon yourself, pro referees. You've armed the man.
I don't want to hear anything about Miazga's suspension being an excuse for him not pulling the sword next game. Wilfred Nazi got to run through the crew brick wall when he was serving his red card suspension. So, I'm tired of selective enforcement of the rules.
I think the only one I could see Noonan saying, like, I can't reward his. We're not having this. Noonan would be the only one to shut it down.
The only permissible substitute is Nick.
What about this? Yes, what if I'm telling you, this needs to happen? What if we give Matt Miazga a disguise and claim Nick Hagland has magically healed really quickly?
We were wondering who the masked man would be last episode. We just found him, folks. It's Matt Miazga.
Can he grow?
Remember talking about dyeing his hair blonde? Come on.
I almost said, can Nick Hagelin grow a beard? I'm like, wait, no, we're not trying to get Hagelin on the field for Miazga. No. Wait, actually, yes, because we need somebody to pretend to be Miazga at the same time. So.
Oh, it's a face-off situation.
Like, no, because there's Miazga right there.
Yeah, Nick Hagelin as Matt Miazga pulls the sword. Yes.
There's a lot going on here. Just try to win the game normally.
Oh God. And then the game was over, and I don't know. It was chaos at Molly Malone's. Mr. Brightside started playing on the touch tunes, played back to back. So thank you to whoever paid $10 to make that happen.
Definitely Chief. King of Mr. Brightside.
And I don't know, man. Like this is a hell of a victory. I'm still liking Blood Feud, but I will accept the Skyline Derby. I will say I typed it in because it's how I felt, just in terms of setting up the Zoom call. The Demolition Derby struck me as like, I don't hate that either. So I Blood Feud will work, but I'm open to seeing other people. So
the true definition of a Pyrrhic victory is a victory that you might, cost more than you truly won. Would you, in hindsight, would you rather have lost this match so that Miazga could serve his suspension in a third game versus Red Bulls?
Oh God, no.
Or go into the void of not knowing either New England or Philly, but knowing that Matt Miazga will not be available for that game?
So I would take the advancement over anything, just to avoid playing Red Bull. However, I see the argument.
Also, let's really talk about this for just 10 seconds. If you ask a team to play another team 3 times, you should reset the cards after those 3 games, because you are just encouraging fist fights and anger and dirty physical play. Because usually when you get pissed off at another team, you don't see them for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and tempers cool down and you forget why you were pissed off at someone over some tackle. When you're seeing it's the same team 3 weeks in a row, it becomes really hard. Now, I know this doesn't really fit because Miazga gets 3, I think all 3 of his cards were non-contact cards.
It feels right.
But you can't ask 2 teams to play each other 3 times and expect, there will be clean games. There'll be no hard fouls. There'll be no cards accumulated. That's nonsense.
Absolutely. Oh, God. So, somehow Matt Miazga, without getting a red card, got 3 yellow cards over the course of 2 games. So that'll be a fun trivia fact later.
You guys might have, in the chaos of the celebrating the penalty stop at the end, there was a brief moment where I thought they were holding up to review whether he was off the line. And I was like, they're really going to take this away from us. And that was terrifying. And I just didn't it took another minute of clarity, so, especially after that corner kick was taken away, where I thought this is really gonna go on. We're not gonna end until we see the goalie's kick. And so God bless.
Would Roman have made his PK?
Oh,
he does it left-footed just to be cute.
That son of a bitch is always trying his left foot.
No, he would have missed the goal completely.
Oh, man. You know who wouldn't have? Evan LaRoe.
Yeah. Penalty expert.
Based on only the fact that he appears on this show occasionally.
Many people asking, was this truly the best week ever to be an FC Cincinnati fan? Because not only does the FC win and now gets a 3-week vacation, thank you, no third game, you also means that we all get to save. We don't have to pay for playoff tickets next week. That's a dub. And then the cherry on top also being that the scumbags from St. Louis, the number 1 seed in the West, loses their second game to Sporting KC, dumped out of the playoffs, which means that in their inaugural season, St. Louis SC won the same number of postseason games as FC Cincinnati did.
It's pretty incredible, and won the same number of trophies. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's the main takeaway for their season, really.
Yeah, I saw somebody posted a great meme. It was the St. Louis 2023 trophy case, and it was finishing whatever it was 13 points behind the Supporters Shield winner, and some team in the 1930s from St. Louis won the Open Cup. So well done, St. Louis. You really killed it this year.
I think that was actually a Chicago Fire fan.
That's great.
It was a very funny source for that meme.
That'd be like us, bad FCC years. We're just shooting at anybody we can just to getting our rocks off, and you love to see that kind of thing. It's a shame their Coach of the Year candidate couldn't coach him out of that box tonight or the other game.
You would think a Coach of the Year would manage to win one playoff game. I mean, he's the Coach of the Year. Surely that would be the minimum expectation.
Take one to PKs, maybe. I don't know. Keep it within a goal. I don't know.
Could a goalkeeper of the year keep one clean sheet in multiple tries against an 8 seed? Who knows?
MVP goalie, possibly.
Many people also noting that Pat Noonan did not win Coach of the Year last year, but still won a playoff game. So it's an interesting double standard here that we're all working with.
Victim of his own success, unfortunately.
Other big takeaway from the weekend. Pearl clutching over trash throwing.
Oh, God.
No problem whatsoever with the trash being thrown. We absolutely deserved it. Like, we celebrated heinously in New York's face. As long as you're not throwing anything with a sharp edge or aiming for heads, I don't care. It reminds me of all those great moments in the 90s where, like Hulk Hogan and the NWO would come out and just the ring would fill with trash. It's glorious. It's American. I'm just happy. MLS needs more of this energy, just a little more of that kind of dangerous ultra energy. I love it.
I posted that as well from the Post account. I'd retweeted you. Friends don't let friends freak out over trash. Somebody responded, yeah, but until it's a flagpole, which, okay, I did not know New York Red Bull fans had thrown a flagpole, and I thought this person was referring to me. And that's how conceited I am. So that's
I think that two things can be true. One is you in the moment shouldn't be throwing things on the field.
Right.
But also it's going to happen, particularly when teams are in situations like this and they celebrate right at the supporters. And, we've been there, and you can't act like it's a big, scandalous occurrence every time it happens.
Yeah. Again, when it's like they were throwing their fucking like freebie giveaway terrible towel things. It's like, we mad that they're throwing their free washcloths at our team? Like, who is actually upset by this right now? You're weird.
Almost like it's not a safe place to kick PKs. Maybe they should, for player safety, they should reconsider that.
But no, Jonah, you brought up the perfect point. It was Pat Noonan in comments, I think, about the Crew this year, last year, basically saying like, hey man, when you do that, that's going to happen. And I think he even echoed that again with New York Red Bull. Like, yeah, we were celebrating in their faces.
I don't condone it, but like, you should expect it to happen. And honestly, it's going to happen anywhere in the world. It's not like God, we're better than this. Like, this is if you celebrate in front of the sport, especially this is a playoff game. This isn't like some random game. I don't think this happens on a Wednesday 2 months ago. But yeah, this would happen anywhere in any country, and a lot of countries probably be worse.
What I just realized? They're going to use this as an excuse to change their policy, and there will be no penalty shootouts taken in front of the supporters section.
God damn it.
I think they threw more trash after the corner though. And we were on like the side. We weren't direct. We weren't in front of you. So hopefully they take that into account as they're changing the rule. That's when Kubo, right? That's when Kubo got hit. I think that should be the one thing. You can't hit Yuya Kubo. Okay, everybody else is fair game.
He's too pure.
He's not saying anything. He's just like happy with his friends on the team. And he's like, me? Like the other guys are busy like, fuck you, suck my dick. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. It's like, that's a little different than Kubo just being like,
I love these guys.
Yeah. Great bonding, guys.
You also can't hit Yuya because if he gets injured, we'll be on the hook for another 10 years of his contract that we have to pay him out for.
Kubo center back? Just throwing it out there, guys.
Bring it on. Oh, God.
All these debates and more over the next 3 weeks. We have absolutely nothing to talk about.
Week 3. Is Malik Pinto? Should he be starting over Junior Moreno? It's like we're going to get through everything.
You want to know the sign of a good podcast? This podcast, I believe, is officially longer than the match. It was actually talking about, so Chief, please, for the love of God, in this.
Fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast, which is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com for all of our written content, as well as links to our social media. You can follow us on Twitter, and as well, you can join us on our Discord server. You can find links to that server both in this episode description as well as on our website. That is where most of our conversations are going on. We have a lovely community there talking about FC Cincinnati, MLS, anything and everything else and everything in between. We also want to give a huge thanks to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing all of the music you've heard throughout this episode. They're an amazing local Cincinnati band. Again, more information about them is in the description of this episode. And if you enjoyed what you listened to, and you've made it to the end, so I'm going to assume you liked it, or you just can't reach your stop button, please like us, review us, subscribe to us wherever you are getting your podcasts. That is going to be really, really helpful. But more importantly, share this with a friend. A personal recommendation helps spread a podcast so much further. So please share this if you know somebody in your life who's an FC Cincinnati fan, an MLS fan, somebody that you think would enjoy this. Pass it on over. Thank you so much again for listening. It blows me away that people continue to listen to us. And thank you so much again.